Germany has over 1,500 named sausage varieties, and every single one of them has a hometown that will argue it's the best. No country on earth has taken the sausage more seriously than Germany. Not as a convenience food, not as a fast food afterthought, but as a cultural artifact, something worth protecting by law, worth traveling for, worth arguing about with the intensity most countries reserve for politics and football. The German relationship with the Wurst is not casual. It is ancestral. It goes back to a time before refrigeration existed, when preserving meat through salt, smoke, and the casing of an animal's intestine was the difference between eating through winter and not. Every technique that defines German sausage, making the precise fat ratios, the specific spice blends, the cold temperatures maintained throughout grinding and mixing, the smoking methods that vary from region to region, developed not out of culinary ambition, but out of survival necessity. The craft came first. The culture grew around it. And today, when a Bavarian eats a Weisswurst before noon with sweet mustard and a pretzel, or a Thuringian grills a Bratwurst over charcoal at a street stand, or a Frankfurter debates with a Viennese about who actually invented the hot dog, they are participating in a tradition so old and so specific that the European Union has stepped in to legally protect dozens of varieties under. Geographical indication status, meaning a Nürnberger Bratwurst can only be called a Nürnberger if it was made in Nuremberg, in the same way that champagne can only come from Champagne. The sausage in Germany is not food, it is identity. The Bratwurst is the sausage that most people outside Germany picture first, and it earns that position because it is genuinely excellent and because it comes in enough regional variations to fill an entire video on its own. The name comes from the Old High German Brat, meaning finely chopped meat, and Wurst, meaning sausage, so a Bratwurst is literally a finely chopped meat sausage, which is an accurate but insufficient description of what it actually is. The Nuremberg Bratwurst, the Nürnberger Rostbratwurst, is the most famous and the most legally protected, and it is small, deliberately, specifically small. Each one is between 7 and 9 centimeters long and between 20 and 25 grams in weight, making it the smallest named sausage in Germany. And it is traditionally served in multiples of 3, 6, 8, or 12 on a pewter plate with sauerkraut and horseradish or mustard. The smallness is not an accident or an economy of ingredients, it is a technical choice, because the high surface area to volume ratio means the Nürnberger develops a maximum amount of casing char relative to its interior, and the char is where the flavor lives. The spicing is marjoram forward, which gives it a slightly floral, herbal quality that distinguishes it from other Bratwurst styles. The Thuringian Bratwurst is the counterpoint longer, coarser, seasoned with caraway, marjoram, and garlic, grilled over beechwood charcoal, and eaten without a bun, held directly in the hand, or placed on a roll that functions more as a handle than as a component of the eating experience. Thuringians are possessive about their Bratwurst to a degree that borders on territorial. And a Thuringian told that their sausage is similar to a Bavarian one will correct that misunderstanding with a directness that makes clear the comparison was not appreciated. The Weisswurst is a sausage with a rule attached to it, and the rule is the most interesting thing about it before you even taste one. A traditional Weisswurst white sausage made from minced veal and pork back fat. Seasoned with parsley, lemon, mace, onion, ginger, and cardamom, stuffed into a pork casing and scalded rather than grilled or smoked, must be eaten before noon. This is not a suggestion. In Bavaria, where the Weisswurst originated in Munich in 1857, reportedly created by accident by a butcher named Sepp Moser, who ran out of sheep casings and used pork instead. Then cook the more delicate mixture gently in hot water rather than overheat. The noon rule exists because the sausage was historically made fresh in the morning and contained no preservatives that would keep it safe as the day warmed. Modern refrigeration has made the rule technically unnecessary. It persists anyway because in Bavaria. The Weisswurst ritual is not about food safety, it is about identity. You eat it with sweet Bavarian mustard, you peel the casing away before eating or suck the filling out directly in a technique called Zuzeln, and you wash it down with Weissbier regardless of the hour, because the hour is before noon and the pairing has been established for over 150 years. The flavor is delicate, pale, faintly herbal, with a texture so soft it barely holds its shape, the opposite of every sausage that follows it in this conversation, which makes it the perfect place to start. The Frankfurter is the sausage that changed the world and then lost the argument about its own name. Frankfurt claims to have invented it in 1484. Vienna claims the sausage was developed by a Frankfurt-trained butcher named Johann Georg Lahner, who brought it to Vienna in the early 19th century, which is why Austrians call it the Wiener, the Viennese one, and why the debate between Frankfurt and Vienna over the original hot dog has been running for over 2 centuries with no resolution in sight. What is not disputed is that the Frankfurter is a scalded, smoked sausage made from finely ground pork sometimes, with beef with a smooth, almost silky texture that comes from the extreme fineness of the grind and the emulsification of fat and protein during processing, when German immigrants brought it to the United States in the 19th century. It entered a culture that valued portability and speed and was eventually tucked into a soft bun, dressed with mustard and relish, and sold at baseball games and street carts until it became so thoroughly American that most Americans have entirely forgotten it arrived from somewhere else. The hot dog is a Frankfurt sausage that has been living under a different name for 150 years. And Frankfurt has never quite gotten over it. The Blutwurst is the sausage that sorts a room in half the moment it's mentioned, and the half that recoils has usually never tasted one made properly. Blood sausage cooked pig's blood mixed with fat, onion, spices, and a binder of oats, barley, or bread, stuffed into a casing and cooked until set is ancient in a way that predates almost every other preserved meat product. It is the sausage of absolute economy, born in the logic that when an animal has been slaughtered, nothing is wasted, including what runs out when the butchering begins. The German Blutwurst varies significantly by region. In some parts, it is soft and spreadable, eaten cold on dark bread. In others, it is sliced and pan-fried until the exterior crisps and the interior warms through, then served with fried onions and applesauce, a combination that is more logical than it sounds because the acidity and sweetness of the apple cuts through the iron-rich richness of the blood in the way that vinegar cuts through fat. The flavor is deep, mineral, and dark, the most intensely savory of all sausage types, with none of the approachability that the paler, milder varieties offer. It is an acquired experience rather than an acquired taste, meaning the challenge is less about the flavor and more about the willingness to approach it without the anxiety that its origins produce. People who overcome that anxiety and eat a properly made, pan-fried Blutwurst with good bread and sharp mustard tend to describe the experience as a revelation. I believe them completely. The Leberwurst liver sausage is the one that most people outside Germany have encountered in a form so debased from the original that calling them the same product is an act of generosity. The plastic-wrapped, pale, featureless liver spread, sold in supermarkets across the world, shares a category name with German Leberwurst in the same way that a gas station espresso shares a category name with a shot pulled from a properly calibrated La Marzocco machine. Real German Leberwurst is made from pork liver, pork meat, and pork fat sometimes, with the addition of veal or bacon ground to varying degrees of fineness depending on the regional style, seasoned with onion, marjoram, allspice, and white pepper, then cooked and set into a spreadable consistency that ranges from coarse and textured to completely smooth. The liver provides an iron richness and a slight bitterness that the fat rounds and the spices lift. Eaten on dark rye bread with mustard and cornichons, a quality Leberwurst is one of the great simple pleasures of the German table, the kind of thing eaten standing in a kitchen in the morning, before the day has started, that requires no ceremony and delivers complete satisfaction. The fact that its international reputation has been shaped by inferior versions is one of the quiet injustices of processed food culture. The Bockwurst arrived on German menus in 1889 at a Berlin restaurant, where it was served specifically to accompany the seasonal release of Bock beer, the strong malty lager that German breweries release in late winter, and the pairing was so immediately popular that the sausage took on the name of the beer it was designed to accompany. The Bockwurst is a mild, scalded sausage made from finely ground veal or pork, seasoned with white pepper, paprika, chives, and parsley, with a pale color and a delicate flavor that positions it closer to the Weisswurst end of the German sausage spectrum than to the bold, smoked end. It is meant to be served hot, in the water it was heated in alongside the beer that inspired it. And the combination mild herbal sausage with the caramel sweetness and gentle bitterness of a Bockbier is one of those pairings that exists so specifically because the two things were designed together that separating them into different contexts makes both of them slightly less than they are in combination. The Bockwurst is not the most dramatic sausage in this conversation, but it is one of the most honest examples of food designed not just to be eaten, but to be eaten with something specific, in a specific season, in a specific spirit that has everything to do with the pleasure of a moment and nothing to do with nutrition or convenience. The Metwurst is the raw sausage that Germany eats on bread, and yes, it is raw, and yes, it is extraordinary. Metwurst, in its traditional spreadable form, called Met, is freshly ground, raw pork seasoned with salt, white pepper, and caraway, served uncooked on a bread roll, sometimes topped with raw onion. In northern Germany particularly, Met is a fixture of weekend breakfasts and buffet tables, eaten with complete normalcy by people who would find the concept of a rare steak alarming in some other contexts, which says something interesting about how cultural familiarity shapes risk perception around food. The pork used for Met must be very fresh and very cold. The fat content is high enough that the texture is smooth and almost buttery when spread, and the caraway provides a sharp herbal bite that cuts through the richness. There is also a tradition in Germany of shaping Met into the form of a small hedgehog on party platters, decorated with pretzel sticks for spines and olive slices for eyes, which is simultaneously one of the most charming and most alarming things that German food culture has produced, and which the internet discovers with a mixture of delight and confusion approximately once every 2 years. The Knackwurst is the sausage named for the sound it makes, and that sound, the snap, the knack, the crack of a tight casing under pressure, is the most reliable indicator of quality across almost all German sausage types. A sausage casing that snaps when bitten has been properly dried, properly smoked, and properly cooled. A casing that tears softly or slips indicates that something in the process was rushed or that the sausage has been stored improperly. The Knackwurst itself is a short, plump, heavily smoked sausage made from finely ground pork and beef, seasoned with garlic, more garlic than most German sausages use, which gives it a boldness that makes it stand apart from the milder end of the spectrum. It is scalded before being heavily smoked over hardwood, which gives the casing its characteristic deep mahogany color and its extraordinary snap. Eaten hot, split down the middle, and grilled until the cut surfaces develop a char, the Knackwurst delivers a garlic-forward, smoky intensity that is completely satisfying in a way that more delicate sausages deliberately aren't. It is not a subtle sausage. It does not want to be. The controversial take in any honest conversation about German sausage is this: the currywurst, which is the most eaten sausage dish in Germany, Berlin alone, sells approximately 70 million portions per year, is not a great sausage. It is a great sauce delivery system, and there is a difference. The currywurst, invented in Berlin in 1949 by a woman named Herta Heuer, who mixed ketchup with Worcestershire sauce and curry powder and poured it over a sliced grilled pork sausage, became an icon of post-war Berlin street food culture, not because the sausage beneath the sauce was exceptional, but because the sauce itself was addictive, and because the city needed something cheap, fast, and deeply satisfying during a period of reconstruction and scarcity. The sausage under the sauce is typically a mild Bratwurst fine, scalded, unremarkable. The sauce is tangy, sweet, slightly spiced, and compelling. The combination works not because of the sausage, but in spite of it. Berlin will never forgive this observation. I stand by it completely. Every wurst in this conversation carries the same logic at its center, that an animal gave everything, that the people who received that gift used every part of it, and that the techniques they developed to preserve and transform what they had became, over centuries, a cuisine. German sausage culture is not about indulgence. It is about respect for the ingredient, for the process, for the knowledge passed from one butcher's hands to the next across generations that never wrote anything down because the skill lived in the hands, not on paper. The snap of a casing, the smell of beechwood smoke, the specific weight of a Nürnberger in a pewter plate. These things are not accidents. They are the accumulated decisions of 1,000 years of people trying to do one thing as well as it can be done: stay hungry.